Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Kemple. I'm head of school here at Kalamazoo Country Day.
And I'm Justina Goodike. I am our middle school math teacher and director of instruction.
And we welcome you to our Community Connection presentation for this fall. So in today's presentation, we're going to ask you to, and I'm going to give you a fair warning on this, I'm going to ask you to change your thinking, change your paradigm. Change your paradigm about education. And so we use paradigm here because we're a leader in me school, but oftentimes not many people know about what a paradigm is. So let's define paradigm as we go into this. So a paradigm is simply a way of thinking about something. It's a mental map. It's how we view the world. And so what I'm asking you to do is to take that mental map that you have about education, take that out and be able to take a look at it. And what we're doing today, I'm going to say, I hope that you're able to change that mental map. What I sometimes call this is paradigm paralysis is what we have, especially with education. We have a paradigm paralysis. And so I'm going to ask you to get out of that paralysis and to change. And you may say to me, why? Maybe I like it. Well, let's go through this presentation and see if maybe I can convince you to change that and get out of your paradigm paralysis. So why? Why? And why is there an urgency to that change? So let's take a look at that. For our kids and for us, there is a hurricane of change that's coming to us. And you can hear here, as Sonny and Cher sing about the beat goes on, and the beat of change goes on, but it's being accelerated by technology. That technology includes artificial intelligence. It includes virtual reality. It includes automation, jobs automated out of existence. Includes the metaverse, where we combine actual reality with virtual reality. And of course, the oldies, but not so goodies, climate change and wars and pandemics and overpopulation and so much more. And that beat continues to go on. And it continues to be speeded up. And so that is why we have an urgency for change. Now, I've done some reading for the futurists about what's going to happen by 2050. 2050 is a mere 25 years from now. And so here's what they say. By 2050, up to 1 in every 2 jobs could be automated out of existence. The other things that they talk about are there will be brand new jobs. And I've listed some of those jobs here for you. So, and you see many of them have to do with technology and the new technology that is emerging. It requires new kinds of jobs. Also, the gig economy that really sprung up during COVID is going to continue. So many of our kids are going to need to be their own entrepreneurs, because they're going to have a job here for 6 months and a job over there for 8 months and this job for a year and that job for 6 weeks. So they're going to need to be their own entrepreneur. And so we also know that AGI will be attained, where we have AIs that are smarter than all of us by 2050. Those are predictions. I think they're all going to happen. If you don't know this man, Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, he is one of the leading people in the development of artificial intelligence in America. And so he and Microsoft have a joint business relationship where they developed ChatGPT, which is now only 2 years old. And they are so well funded. And they continue to develop this. So Sam sat down for a conversation And here's what Sam said that will happen to our children, I think, within the next 10 years. Our children will have virtual tutors who can provide personalized instruction in any subject, in any place, at any time of day, at their own pace. And we're already seeing that happen, and it's going to get more and more sophisticated. Another major writer, when it comes to artificial intelligence, Ethan Mollick, says the changes to our lives are going to be so profound that we cannot even imagine what they are. And that's the truth too. Science fiction becomes science fact. So we say our students are going to face this. What are they going to need to thrive and succeed in this whirlwind, this hurricane, this category 5 of change? What is that indeed? So, what does success look like in this world? What are the competencies that they're going to need? Well, there's research out there that tells us what they're going to need in this world of change. The National Network of Business and Industry Associations has put it like this. They say, obviously, down here with applied knowledge, they're going to need content knowledge. They're going to need to be able to read, write, do arithmetic, do science, those kinds of things. But in addition, they're going to need personal skills. They're going to need people skills. And they're going to need workplace skills. So they're going to need to be well-rounded. It's not just being smart in content. It's that they need all of these. Now here at Kalamazoo Country Day School, we went looking and we found a structure put out by Next Generation Learning. And so this was an extensive research, and they put out My Ways, which was a research done, funded by the Gates Foundation. It's very extensive, 12 papers, it's amazing. And so this is what we look at when we are developing what we provide for kids here at Kalamazoo Country Day School. And so later on, Justina will really talk about this in depth. I'll just kind of briefly go over it here. Habits of success are at the top. If they have the habits of success, they're likely to be successful at home, in their careers, in their lives, and in school. Creative know-how, those are all the types of things that used to be called soft skills. Now they're called essential skills. Obviously, content is in the yellow here, or orange. And then the other area, the blue area, is wayfinding. With change happening so rapidly, they need to be able to find their way as things change quickly. And so Justina's going to talk a lot about that as she goes through her part of this presentation. So let's meet Alacia and Darby, recent graduates of our school. So what do they need to do to be successful in this world of change? They need to be great communicators. They need to be entrepreneurs. I've already talked about that. They need to be collaborators. They're going to be working with people all over the world, so they're going to be global citizens. And another key is learning doesn't stop at high school, doesn't stop at college, doesn't stop at trade school or graduate school or after medical school or any of those. Learning now is lifelong. It has to be lifelong. They need to be creative, they need to be critical thinkers, problem solvers, and they need to have agency. Now, agency is a word that we use in education that's not often used outside of education. So let me define agency and what kids need in terms of agency to be successful in this world of change. So agency is a mindset, a paradigm, if you will, and it can be learned. We can teach kids agency. Agency is about significant self-confidence. It's about significant positive self-concept. It's about being goal-oriented. Also about believing in oneself and that my uniqueness in the universe is really important. And I am important to what goes on in this world. It's about believing in genius. I have genius that I can contribute to the world, and everyone has genius. We tell kids that absolutely every day. And finally, that everyone has leadership. I can be a leader in something, in some way, and it's inside of me that I have this. And so we work with kids every day at Kalamazoo Country Day School on all of these areas so that they have significant agency by the time they leave our school. So, Pathways to Prosperity and Next Generation Learning is, we can't slow this down. We can't call time out. It's just not going to happen. And so we have to have kids with the traits I just talked about. And to have kids with the traits I just talked about, we need a new kind of education. So, what is that new type of education that will prepare them to be successful and thrive in this world of change? Well, research indicates 7 areas that kids are going to need to be educated in. Top area, future of education needs to integrate all of this technology, AI, VR, AR, integrate it into the educational workplace so that kids are competent in all of these areas. It needs to be personalized for each and every child. Skills focus, we've talked about that, we'll talk some more about that. It's lifelong learning, as I mentioned before. A global perspective there, global citizens, they need to see that. Sustainable, we have one Earth. Unfortunately, we're not doing a very good job with it right now. So our kids are going to have to know they got to keep this Earth. This is all they have. This is our spaceship that they're on. And finally, it's collaborative. It's a collaboration between you and us, between us and the community. It's collaboration between us and businesses. It's going to take all of us working together to make sure that they get the education they need and deserve to be successful. So, we also need to look at what needs to happen in the classroom. So as we look at what needs to happen in the classroom, number one, exceptional teachers. So teacher education needs to be top-notch, and it needs to be an education that goes towards those kinds of skills that they'll need for the 21st century. It needs to be personalized instruction that I have already talked about. Educating the whole child, that whole big diamond that we looked at. You have to get at all of that. You can only do this in small classroom size. You can't do it in a class of 30. And that's why we stick with small classroom sizes, because it's very, very intense to do this kind of education. And obviously in a safe and loving environment. And then that teachers work collaboratively. We meet every Friday. We talk about education, we talk about kids, we talk about personalizing that education for kids. We do that every week. We keep the focus on our kids. We keep the focus on our kids' education to make sure we're on target here at Kalamazoo Country Day School. So when teachers collaborate, here's what happens. There's an improvement in student achievement. There's an improvement in instructional methods, and it creates a really positive school environment. And we have all 3 of those here at Kalamazoo Country Day. So here's a sentence that I found that I wrote actually that you will never see for schools, that schools need to be flexible and agile learning hubs. I'm not sure that anyone has ever put flexible and agile, but we at Country Day need to be that, and so do all the other schools, because of the rate of change. We need to be flexible and agile. So I want you to pull out those paradigms. All right, so hopefully you're beginning to think about, okay, this is how I did school, but maybe that's not how school of the future needs to look like. All right? Okay, let's go on. There's a couple more things that we need to talk about. Traditional education, if you think that it was scientifically developed and that someone did research on it and everything, it wasn't. Traditional education has been a hodgepodge of different things, politically influenced by business leaders, influenced by political leaders, all of that to get to what we have today. Now, around here and talking with many of my friends, we call it the factory model. And we call it the factory model because it came out of the last quarter of the 19th century. And so there was a gentleman who was the dean of the College of Education at Stanford, a gentleman named Elwood Cubberley. And he said our schools are, in a sense, factories in which raw products, children, are to be shaped and fashioned into products to meet various demands of life. He stated what they were meant to be. And so schools in the 1870s and after were greatly influenced by the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and the industrialists of that age. And there were some really good things that they did. They said, we need an educated population to work in our factories. And so public education began to become universal. It also began to become publicly funded. And so what they wanted was, they wanted education to produce workers who could then go and work in their factories. So they wanted certain traits for their workers that they wanted to come out of there. So their workers, they wanted workers who were compliant, they followed the rules. They wanted workers who showed up to work every day. They wanted workers who could tolerate long hours of really boring work. And finally, and it was revolutionary for the time, they wanted workers who could read and write and do math, at least at a minimal level, because they needed them. They needed a more educated population to do the kind of work that needed to be done in factories. As John D. Rockefeller said, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. And so schools were kind of tailored, molded into producing graduates who were that nation of workers for him. So the factory model got invented, created at that time. So the structure of the school mirrored what went on in a factory. So it's a very regimented day. So you had bells, you had assigned seats, same curriculum was used for every student at a certain age. There was testing for that. There was behavior expectations. And there was only whole group instruction because that was the most efficient way to do it. And the teacher was the ultimate authority in gaining knowledge. And so when you looked at traits of students, what did you expect? You wanted students who were compliant. You wanted students who were punctual. They followed the rules. They came to school every day on time. They were able to tolerate long hours of very boring classes, and they had an ability to read, write, and do math. Now, that was great. It was revolutionary for the time, and it worked. and it got America educated at that time. But here's the problem. Let's look at a classroom in 1895. So we see in this classroom, everybody's in a row. They're all studying, it looks like the earth. Everyone's studying the same thing at the same time in this class. So, okay, that's classroom 1895. Now let's go up to more my era. Let's look at 1971. And so, okay, everyone has their book open to the same spot. They're all in rows, probably assigned seats, with a teacher up front imparting knowledge to the group. So, okay, now let's go to 2018 and take a look at that. Well, okay, so we have some technology. We have an overhead. All right, and so, but they're all sitting in rows with their book open to the same page, with the teacher up front imparting knowledge. And that's the problem. In 150 years, the American classroom has virtually not changed. And that is not what our students need. Not with the hurricane of change that is facing them right now. And so we're so busy doing 20th century, and I would say 19th century education, that we don't have time to do 21st century learning. And it is so important that we get to 21st century learning for our kids to be successful and to be able to not only succeed but thrive in this world of change. If we look at the results for our kids of this kind of education, you'll see down here on math proficiency, and this is for the M step, for the state of Michigan in 2023, fully 2 out of every 3 students were not proficient in math. They were below grade level in math. If we look at English language arts, that is better, but it's still more than 1 in 2 students were not proficient in English language arts in 2023. And it didn't get any better in 2024. I can guarantee you that. Well, we could all get bummed out, but I don't want you to despair. Because we have an answer. And we have an answer here at Kalamazoo Country Day School. Justina's going to explain that answer right now.
Alrighty, excuse me. So Dr. Kemple has done a phenomenal job outlining for us, one, the history of schooling, and just speaking very obviously from what we see in the slides, the history of schooling shows that school is a giant machine and it's very, very slow to change. On top of that, we're confronted with all of these amazing, incredible technological changes that our kids have access to, or should have access to, in order to harness all of these skills to be the leaders of tomorrow, the leaders that we know that they can be. So, how can we do both? How can we educate our kids using research but make sure that they're prepared for tomorrow? Well, that's where KCDS comes in. So, we've talked about this, how there's 4 quadrants, and these are the 4 areas that kids need to have skills in. This is what the data shows. These are the 4 areas that kids need to have skills in order to be successful for their upcoming life, for our future. So, here's how we deliver. Now, the first thing that we have done is selected research-based curriculum very strategically to meet as many of these areas as we can with our kids. However, if you look here, and then if you look here, you can see there's a few gaps. Because curriculum is, in and of itself, designed to afford kids content knowledge. That is the purpose of curriculum. We have strategically chosen curriculum that does more than that, right? It gives some habits of success. It builds students' creative know-how, but there were still gaps. So, because we are not a school that says, oh, we've done most of it, we're pretty good, right? We have other things coming that I'll talk about in a little bit to fill the rest of these gaps, because that is who we are as a school. We are a school that sees a need, and then we work tirelessly to figure out how to fill it. So, curriculum. Like I said, again, designed to provide content knowledge for our students. So these are the curriculums that we currently offer I also realized that we also offer Lexia and Reflex, which aren't currently up here, but these are our core curriculums. So I'm going to go over them super briefly. Starting with our youngest. So High Scope is a preschool curriculum. It's very play-based. Kids gain knowledge via play, getting them kindergarten ready, building up their confidence, and loving themselves as a learner in a way that is appropriate for them at their age. World of Wonders, that is our ELA curriculum for junior kindergarten. So that's students learning to read at the age of 4.5, 5, the pointer fingers, sounding out words, sight words, all of those things. Again, building confidence in themselves as learners and getting them kindergarten ready. Bridges in Mathematics, that is our elementary curriculum for junior kindergarten through 5th grade for math, and then CPM, College Preparatory Mathematics, that is our middle school math curriculum. Both of them have bridges in their logos intentionally because they're both designed to bridge information together. So it's not, oh, I'm going to learn how to multiply this week, oh, I'm going to learn some geometry next week, and then I never realize how they're connected. These curriculums are designed to build connections between mathematical concepts so kids can apply math in real life. Then we have Phenomenal Science, Open Science Ed. Phenomenal Science is our elementary science curriculum, and Open Science Ed is our middle school science curriculum. Like the name sounds, Phenomenal Science, but both of them, they're curriculums that are built around a specific phenomenon, and then kids discover information and build on that to its very depth, and then take that information and apply it elsewhere. Collaborative Classroom, that's our ELA curriculum, and that is again tailored to meet kids' needs. It's taught in small groups so every kid can be taught the skills that they need for success and then continue to grow from there. And TCI, this is our newest curriculum. We are currently piloting it in our middle school, and it's sort of the beginning of a lot of this AI-based stuff. Now, it's not a personal AI, but it is a curriculum that's on the computer and can be tailored to meet each kid's needs. So students that maybe have a harder time with reading, we can have things read to them. Students that need a more challenge, we can give them more application-based, more challenging-based questions. So we're making sure that every kid is meeting the standards at their own pace and at their own place. So we're able to meet them where they are and continue to help them grow. So that was content knowledge. Again, the purpose of curriculum. I feel like content knowledge is what everyone assumes kids get at school. But we need more than content knowledge for our kids. Our kids need all these other skills. So how does our curriculum work to help our kids build creative know-how? So creative know-how here, critical thinking, problem solving, technology skills, communication, and collaboration. I'll just give one example of a science lesson. It's like a 2 or 3 day science lesson where students use all of these skills. So this is a picture from sort of one of parts of the actual lesson. But first, kids go around and they look at examples of cells in microscopes. So, at this station they see this, they take notes, they draw pictures. What do they see? What kind of cell is it? Write it down. Okay, go to the next one, go to the next one. Taking notes. Okay, well then they get with a partner and they start to debrief. Well, what did you see? What did you see? Well, what do you think that means? Well, what do our notice things have in common? What are some other things I could add to mine or you add to yours? Okay, well, we still don't know that much yet. What do we need to do next? Oh, we need more examples, more knowledge. So that's where the technology comes in. We get a bunch more examples of cells that kids can see on technology. And then from there, more drawing, more deciphering, more communicating and collaborating with people. Well, wait, the onion cell has this border around it, and the celery cell has this border around it, but the skin cell, that doesn't have that, or, the blood cell, that didn't have it. Well, what could that mean? It seems like plant cells have this border around it, right? Well, every single cell I saw has this dark center, but what does it mean? Sometimes the dark center is splitting apart, and sometimes it's together. What does that mean? Making these connections. Then, through meaningful teaching and exploration, Ms. Hagan, our science teacher, is able to lead them to understand, like, oh, well, plant cells have a cell wall. Animal cells don't. That's that box you saw. Oh, every cell has a nucleus. Every single cell. What does that mean? What does it mean when it's splitting apart? All of these things, utilizing critical thinking and problem solving, communication, collaboration, technology. That's like 3 days in the life of a student at KCDS. So each of our curriculums is selected to go through these, to have kids harness these skills, to own them so that they can truly be the leaders of tomorrow. This is a math example. It's just kind of a fun question. It's about a roller coaster, and they have to figure out, it's called Newton's Revenge, and they have to figure out if the tunnel is safe. And so it's just another thing where they read the question and they're like, I don't know, is it safe? I'm like, I don't know. Could you raise your arms in that tunnel? I don't know. I don't know how long my reach is. Oh, what could we do? Oh, we can measure it. Okay, let's measure it. Okay, well now what? It's safe for you, it's safe for you, so is it safe for everyone? Well, we don't know. Well, what other knowledge could we find? And they want to figure out if it's safe for the very tallest basketball player, and they give us his height. So like, well, we know his height, so let's find our height. And eventually, through a lot of leading questions, students are able to realize, oh, I can graph it, I can make a line of best fit, I can use my equation, I can determine if the height of this, or if this basketball player's reach is most likely safe for this roller coaster. So just another fun example of the way curriculum is used in order for kids to build those skills. And additionally, with curriculum, habits of success. So habits of success, that the first thing up there says academic behaviors. And I think most people go, well, yeah, it's a school. It's a school, so kids are gonna have academic behaviors. But they're not the academic behaviors that Dr. Kempel showed where everyone is sitting in rows, the teacher's just talking up front. Our goal in this school is to teach kids academic behaviors where they're able to pursue their own learning and be true lifelong learners. Self-direction and perseverance, that's part of it. Owning your learning. And then learning strategies. So these are just a few examples of this. This one utilizes technology. We have Cecil. It's the beginning of kids adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers, and he travels along his tightrope, and if you get it wrong, he falls off. That's kind of a fun one. This one, though, was a question, can you change the perimeter of a shape without changing its area? Or vice versa. Can you change the area of a shape without changing its perimeter? And kids are like, well, I don't know. Can you? I'm like, how could we figure it out? What could we do? So I had kids drawing things, using graph paper. These students took out some manipulatives. Again, guiding their own learning, academic behaviors and learning strategies that they own. This is Baylor, that he is in junior kindergarten this year, and they're like, we're gonna be readers. We're gonna be readers and writers. And when you're afraid, I'm gonna be a reader? Well, yeah, what is the most meaningful word to a 4-year-old at the beginning of the school year? Your name, right? And so he's given this big stack of letter cards. All right, go ahead, make your word. And he went through and went through and went through, right? Building his name out of order. Let's get him in the correct order. Let's make sure the first letter is uppercase. Let's make sure they're all facing the correct direction. Again, our younger learners, but the same skills. Academic behaviors, self-direction, perseverance, learning strategies. And there's example after example after example. We have an up-and-coming curriculum that we're planning to start second semester of this year. It is called it's from the Social Institute. It's called Win It Social, and it is a curriculum that's designed to explicitly teach our kids proactive use of technology for all of the things, all the changes that are coming at them in the future, the world of tomorrow. So it teaches all of these skills, but as AI comes at them, as kids are using cell phones from a younger and younger age, as they have access to social media, how are we equipping our kids with the skills to use these things to better their lives, to use them ethically and in a way that betters their future and prepares them for tomorrow versus just, what it says up here. A lot of schools just confiscate devices, right? Just reactive behavior. Well, instead, we want to empower our kids. We want to train our kids to be using this technology to be successful. So that's up and coming, and we're super excited about it. Okay, so I said initially, curriculum is wonderful, and we have strategically selected curriculum that helps our kids fill so many of these skills, right? However, as I said at the beginning, there were some gaps. We're not a school that says, oh, we did pretty well, that's fine. We are going to keep working tirelessly until there are no gaps. And so we brought in Leader in Me. Leader in Me fills in most of the habits of success because it's based on the 8 habits of highly effective people. So it builds in those, but also creative know-how and also some significant wayfinding skills. Historically, just so people have kind of a foundation in Leader in Me, it is used not only in schools, and not nearly enough, if I in my opinion, not nearly enough schools in the world, but it's also been used for trainings in corporate boardrooms. So 90% of Fortune 100 companies and 75% of Fortune 500 companies have brought in training about the 8 habits because they think that they are so beneficial for their workers. Same thing, it's used in universities, so Stanford, University of Chicago, University of New Mexico, but there's lists of hundreds of universities that either implement these skills, teach classes on them, or have trainings about them. Government agencies, so the U.S. Department of Defense, the military, entire cities, medical centers, police departments, and manufacturing facilities. So these are skills that a whole lot of people in a very successful places have said, this is what we need for our workers, for our students, for this, and we are utilizing them in this building with our students ages 3 to 14. So, Leader in Me teaches habits of success. So again, that's your self-direction, perseverance, positive mindset in this case, and then social skills and responsibilities. Self-direction and perseverance, that's habit number 1. That is, the first 3 habits are all about yourself, owning your life. I'm in the driver's seat of my life. So it's not, oh, I got a flat tire today, my whole day's ruined, and oh, that made me so angry. Well, no, that maybe wasn't my favorite activity, but my response to that is 100% within my control. Or students, right? Well, I didn't do my homework because my mom didn't remind me. Well, no. Your self-direction, you're capable of that. That's your circle of control, right? Helping our youngest students own their behaviors, own their choices, because they are in charge of themselves, regardless of what the world throws at them. Positive mindset, that's our mental paradigm, right? As Dr. Kimball talked about some of our paradigms. So able to have a growth mindset, changing things. I have a baby at home. So the middle schoolers here joke with me. I say like, oh, I was up 3 times last night. And they're like, oh, paradigm shift. And they're right. I can say, oh, I was up last night. I'm exhausted. Or I can say, I get to be this beautiful baby's mom. And when you change your mindset like that, when we practice that in this building with our kids, it reframes everything and it makes us able to appreciate so much more. And finally, social skills and responsibilities. Those are habits 4, 5, and 6. And that's all about working together with other people, synergizing, thinking win-win, seeking first to understand, building empathy, and working with a team to do more with others than you're able to do with yourself. Things that we know that our kids need in the workplace, in their future. I mean, everything is so beneficial for them. Wayfinding. So goal setting and then skills in navigating life's journey. So year 1 for Leader in Me last year was just integrating the habits into our school and into our culture. Year 2 this year is when we set goals. They're called WIGs, wildly important goals, and we track them and we celebrate them when we meet them. So this year at Kalamazoo Country Day School, we have a school-wide WIG that 100% of our students will grow in oral reading fluency. So not 95%, not 98%, but 100% of our students are going to show growth in oral reading fluency. Then each student has a leadership binder where they track their goals. They show the days that they work towards meeting that goal. So any day in class that they've worked on oral reading fluency, they're going to track that. And then we have a data display that we have up tracking each class's growth in that goal so that we can continue to celebrate each class's success in meeting it. Our oldest kids are working on their own personal WIGs. All teachers have personal WIGs. And then as the school year goes on, younger and younger students are building their own WIGs as well. And creative know-how, communication, collaboration, right? Teamwork, working together, not only in an academic setting, trying to get work done, but also just within each other, or with each other all different times of the day. This was last year's Student Lighthouse team, and they decided they wanted to do a blanket drive for those in need in the greater Kalamazoo area. So they did all of it. They called the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission to see if they would take a donation. They made flyers, they wrote emails, they collected the blankets. They did literally everything from beginning to end, each of them, finding their voice, doing things that they're passionate about, and building their communication and collaboration skills. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our art and language program. So we do have a robust Spanish program here. Every student age 3 to 14 is given the opportunity to have Spanish throughout the week. We have for our youngest kids a lot of like songs and dances as they learn the language, and then our oldest kids are just immersed in Spanish. My 9th grader this year went into Spanish 2 in high school and is having great success, largely from the foundation that she got in Spanish here. And then arts. We have 2 different arts programs. We have a visual arts program, and then we also have an aesthetic arts program. Within the aesthetic arts program, we have different visiting artists from all different types of arts that work with our kids, and then they go and they also get to visit different field trips for different arts as well. So while other schools in the area are hoping to deliver this, we are delivering all of this, tirelessly working to make sure that our kids are prepared in all 4 of these areas. And that has led to phenomenal results. So our commitment to excellence has resulted in a school like no other, and I mean that. I've worked at many schools, both here and in California, and this school, I mean, just the way that we train our kids, that we work with our kids, that we know our kids with our small class sizes, and the things that we do in these 4 quadrants, it makes such a difference. And we have the data to prove it. So this is this past year, end of the school year. This was our end of the year data at KCDS for reading on top, math on the bottom. And this is averaged data for 4 area districts: Portage, Mattawan, Gull Lake, and Vicksburg. So these are well-respected area schools that when you see on Facebook, like, oh, I'm moving to the area, where should I go? These are the districts that usually are suggested, right? So for KCDS, 7.6 out of every 10 of our students ended last year reading at or above grade level. In math, 8.6 out of every 10 of our students ended the year at or above grade level in math. Now, when you compare that to these schools, these well-respected schools in the area, so here, 6.2 out of every 10 kids in those 4 area schools, only 6 out of 10 were grade level at reading. And then here in math, 4.8 out of every 10, or less than half of kids who tested in these area schools are leaving at grade level. I am in no way trying to say anything negative about public school teachers. I was one for a long time. I know what it's like to walk into school every day, to give it your all, and to leave feeling like you weren't enough. It is incredibly difficult, I would say impossible, to be what every kid needs when you're in a class of 24 kids, or you're teaching a class of 28 kids or 30 kids. It's just not doable. But when you have small class sizes, we are better able to meet kids' needs. Additionally, this isn't perfect. Every year, I'm like, the orange is gonna be gone this year, right? Every single year, and we still have a few. But I can tell you, as a school leader in a large district, Portage has like 8,000 kids. There's no way as a school leader you can know, okay, this is what that kid looks like, this is the intervention that we're doing for them, this is the amount of growth that they made last year, I know what they do after school, I know them as a human. It's just not possible. We're here. Any kid that's not meeting their goals, and quite honestly all the rest of them, I know what they look like, I know what makes them laugh, I know if they come in the morning looking like they're a morning person or not, I know the interventions that we are doing to meet their needs. I know them as a person. I know the genius they bring to the table, and that, along with everything else that we're doing here, makes so much of a difference. Dr. Kimball already went through at least the bottom of these scores, but just showing that these are averages for the entire state. So unlike this, where this is an average of just 4 more respected districts, these are averages for the entire state over the last about 4 or 5 years. And it basically shows that in math, about a third of kids are grade level in math in the state of Michigan. And less than half, slightly less than half, are testing with grade level proficiency in ELA. What we're doing historically and still in education is not working for our kids. So KCDS has created a new model, right? A new way to meet our kids' needs, because that's what we do in this building. So this is another example This is one student's NWEA score. So NWEA is a nationally recognized test. It's given 3 times a year to about 700,000 students in the United States. These are the results from just one student in our building, but I'm using it to show, and many more, that what we do here works. So how this works: blue is above grade level, green is at grade level. I always say green is the goal, yellow is slightly below grade level, and the dotted line, that's the national average. So the national average of kids who took this test. Then orange is below grade level, and red is significantly below grade level. So this student came in, took the test, they were above grade level. Oftentimes kids who test above grade level get sort of forgotten in bigger settings because they're already doing well and there's not enough time or resources to help them. But not here. Here we meet kids where they are, we teach the whole child all 4 of those quadrants, and we make sure every kid gets what they need so that they are able to continue to grow as this kid did. However, I have many examples that regardless of where a student starts with us, this student started just below grade level, right? They continue to grow. Kid after kid after kid after kid grows academically, thrives in this building because of what we do day in and day out. So I came across this quote and it felt pretty profound. When people talk about traveling to the past, they worry about radically changing the present. We can't go back in time, we're gonna change the present, right? They're worried they're gonna do that by doing something small, but rarely in the present do they really think that they can radically change the future by doing something today. But that's what we do here. We radically change the future every second, every smile, every lesson, every moment at a time. We are radically changing each of our students' futures. And time travel isn't about changing the past or escaping the present, but embracing the power of now and shaping a future filled with infinite possibilities, because that's what our kids are. They are our future, and because of that, they are filled with infinite possibility. And with that, I will hand the stage back to Dr. Kemple.
Well, thank you, and thank you all for staying with us through this presentation. We have about 2 more minutes, so hang with us. We just wanted to show you we do our plans on a page. These were our goals from last year. Just wanted to report out 25 additional students. We've actually met that goal now. Retention rate at 95%. Our retention rate was about 85%, so we have work to do there. And we are always fundraising. Again, about 85% of our budget comes from tuition and fees, so we're always raising that additional 15%. And so we have additional goals for this year. And so the reading fluency of 100% improvement. We do core tactics. How are we going to do that? Direct instruction, supplemental instruction, and we're asking everyone to read with their kids at home at least 20 minutes a night. Our second goal gets into those other quadrants that we've talked quite a bit about. And so we continue to bring things in that will educate kids in all of those quadrants. And so every one of our kids has a portfolio, and we've implemented that this year as part of our Leader in Me program. And we're bringing in our digital literacy that Justina has already talked about. Our third goal, again, is fundraising. We're looking to raise $150,000, that additional 15%. So if any of you watching this, or any of you who are here tonight, have some extra money laying around and like to send us a check, we'd love to have it. All right, go online. You can see where you can donate to the school. All right. So, this is a quote from me. It just breaks my heart when parents have chosen a traditional education over a Kalamazoo Country Day education. I feel they've made a life-altering mistake for their child. It's one of those things of, I know how hard we work for each and every one of our children. None of our children, as Justina has said, gets lost. We know who they are. We know what works best for them, whether they're below grade level or well above grade level. We're here working for each and every one of them to maximize who they can be, to make sure that they have the tools to be successful in this world of change. So, we want you to join our team. And here's a couple of things. Join our mission to develop the finest 21st century education anywhere in the world. So you can volunteer, you can always raise money. This is very costly education. And you can spread the word about this amazing school that does so much for the children who go here. So, again, pull out those paradigms. I hope that I've changed them. The education in the 21st century needs to change from the factory model of education. It needs to be the new kind of education that we're offering here at Kalamazoo Country Day School. Also, there's a paradigm that says, I only pay for education to go to college. What I put to you tonight or today is that paying for school right now in this particular school, we do not get funds from the government. Paying for school right now is how to ensure your children's success as they move into this whirlwind of change that they will live in. So one last quote. This is from Muriel Summers, who started the Leader in Me in schools. We only get one chance to prepare children and for a world that none of us can predict. So what are we going to do with that one chance? Hopefully that one chance is that you'll send them here to Kalamazoo Country Day School. An amazing school. We consider it the best education anywhere. Thank you all for coming.